Welcome to Inside the Music. Today we're speaking with Dilz. How are you?
Good. A little bit hungover, but good.
Heavy night on the Terps.
Yeah, something like that.
Alright, well, so you're a rap and hip hop artist?
Mm-hmm.
So what got you into music?
I started off playing guitar, so when I was younger, about 5, 6, like my dad bought me a little guitar that was looked like a ukulele. So I started off on that and then carried on playing guitar through like primary school. I was always in the music classes. Got to college, I was in a band and lead guitarist and stuff like that. I think year 11, I transitioned. Like I did my year 11 in music, got the music cup thing for the, while I was playing guitar, and then the next year I just decided to do something different, and I haven't really gone back. I haven't done much guitaring since. I've just been driven and on the hip hop path since then. So yeah, but I've always written lyrics as well. So I started writing lyrics when I was like probably 10, like, you know, with cousins and stuff like that, playing around, and then I start writing lyrics just in books, which I never performed or wrote or recorded or anything like that. I was just writing them, and then the way me starting to do rapping like lyrics was, you know, I would be with my cousin, me and him would go out fishing or something like that, we'd be bored and we'll just start like dissing each other and, you know, rhyming things, and then you know, from that he said I was quite good at it, so I kind of kept going, and then from there I started thinking, well, you know, I don't just have to write diss songs, so I don't have to just diss my cousin, so I started writing other songs, and then yeah, just led me to what I do now.
So was there anything in particular that pushed you away from the guitar that time?
It was mainly kind of like just wanting a change up, and like for the guitar, quite often, like I learnt what my dad taught me, and then I was trying to, you know, I was learning what the music teacher had to teach, but quite often I just found myself learning off YouTube, or I think it's called Ultimate Guitar or something like that. We get the tabs, and then I thought, well, if I'm teaching myself how to do this at home, I could probably teach myself to do something else as well. So I just seen what else I could do, pretty much.
So what sort of music influences you?
I love lyrical music. I love it when the lyrics mean something. So I'm a huge fan of that. I love the poeticness behind hip hop. So I'm a big fan of all parts and all the aspects of hip hop and where things came from and where it's got into and stuff like that. But I'm just a massive fan of how much it can speak to you and how much it can, like, people can relate to it and stuff like that. And then just the poeticness of how you can rhyme words and put structures together, and like you learn in English. I was always pretty good at English, and I didn't like school very much. I don't think many people do, but English was something I was alright at, and you learn in English about the similes and metaphors and onomatopoeia and all of that type of stuff, and then when you can use all of that and put it into your own, you know, make up your own metaphors that no one ever has heard before, you know, like, you know, people say it's raining cats and dogs, and that's like, everyone knows what that means. It's like you come up with your own stuff, and you created it, and you found a way to make these words make sense so that other people can understand it, but they never thought of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, I love the I just love the art behind it. So it's just the rhyme schemes that capture me, how people can rhyme like this word with that word. Sometimes you might not have ever thought of that, or like, because I don't like just rhyming like door and core and war, you know. I like it when they just rhyme like a big, they rhyme as much as they can, like when you're rhyming in between the sentences and at the end of the sentences, and you're just using the words to, like, it's almost showing off, but it's also just expressing yourself, you know what I mean? So like, when, you know, I'm rhyming more with a sliding door instead of more and door. Yeah. So I just love the art of it. I love the wordplay and the lyrics, and yeah.
Because I do find, like, compared to a lot of other rap, that tends to just, it's kind of braggy music.
Yeah.
It's always about the girls, it's about the money.
And there's always been that, ever since rap came out, you know, like NWA, they had that type of stuff, and then like the middle eras, the old school eras, the now eras, it's always been there's that side of it. So you just got to search deeper, and then you find the what I like type stuff. Yeah.
Alright. So are there any specific artists that have influenced you?
Yeah, well, Eminem, that one's just a given. That's like, I think not many people know who Eminem is that don't like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So Eminem, that's an easy one. I love a lot of underground hip hop artists, and that's just because that they can say whatever they want, and they say what needs to be said, rather than just trying to make a radio track talking about whatever people are listening to at the time. So they, like Hobson, he's an artist that he kind of was the one that motivated me to do what I do now, because I think it was 2012 I discovered him, and he was just some YouTube rapper back then. He's pretty big now, he's like worldwide. But he was just a YouTube rapper, and he did everything from home. He made his beats at home in his basement. He recorded himself. He did all his vocal engineering and put it out himself, shot his own music videos and stuff like that. So he did everything himself, and I thought, well, I can do that. You know what I mean? So that's what really pushed me to go and buy my first microphone, is the fact that, you know, he's got a microphone at home. You don't need a recording studio. I mean, it's always cool. Like, I want to be in here and use this stuff, but, you know, at home with the money you got and the time you got and stuff like that, it's just so simple to set up your own little setup and go from there. And I mean, that's all I've done, and I've, you know, I made a little bit of a name for myself just buying a microphone and doing it from home. And so he's who inspired me to do that. I listen to J. Cole, a little bit of Kendrick Lamar. I love Aussie hip hop. Artists like 360, he's a crazy influence for me. Cursor, B Mike, who I've got on my album, he's an Aussie rapper. Fozzy, I've remixed a few of his songs. So I'm not the biggest fan of the New Zealand scene. I don't draw too much inspiration from the artists here. I don't know if that's just me, I haven't looked hard enough. You know, there's some artists that are obviously they've got the good sound, and then there's other artists who are doing stuff that I like, but an overall thing of things, I don't usually listen to New Zealand hip hop. And then yeah, I just like underground music most of the time. And then there'd be the odd song that I just bump because it's cool. Yeah.
Any other genres?
Ever since you know, dwelling into hip hop, I've been really stuck on hip hop, and it's because when I'm listening, I'm not just listening, I'm studying. So like when I'm listening to someone when I listen to a song that just came on and I haven't heard it before, I'm listening to their flows, I'm listening to what they're rhyming, I'm listening to how they're bridging into their choruses and what they're doing different to me if they're on the radio, and I'm just seeing what I can take from whatever I'm listening to. So, you know, I still listen to other stuff. My girlfriend, she listens to a lot of music I'm not a big fan of, but you know, she listens to like Sammy J and those guys that kind of sing like girls. But yeah, so she listens to her music, and I have to listen to that in the car or when she's blasting it at home. And then my family growing up listened to a lot of Metallica or Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit, sort of Hinder, bands like that. So I still, like, on my Spotify playlist, I have some songs like that that come on. But yeah, hip hop, when I'm listening, I'm studying, so I prefer to listen to it because I'm doing multitasking. I'm killing two birds with one stone. I'm listening to a song, but I'm also learning.
So how much time do you actually spend writing?
Writing? At the moment, because we've done this album, I actually haven't really had a chance to do much writing because we've been so focused on trying to wrap up all the other ends of it. But I, in a way, I'm always writing. Like, just because I'm not in the studio with usually I write on my phone, or sometimes I write on the paper. But just because I'm not in the studio purposely writing, like whenever I'm out working or while we're in Thailand, whatever I'm doing, I'll always think of things. And if I think of things, I just put them down on my notepad on my phone, or quickly send them to myself on Facebook or something like that, and then I've just got, when I actually do get into the studio to do some writing, or you know, this fella's making a beat, I've got like a little bit of a go-to because I've got a collection of lyrics I just wrote over the week type thing. So it's not that I put time aside to write most of the time. Like sometimes I do, like when we just like, well, let's go in the studio and we want to do a song, or we might be mixing something and then we get sidetracked because he's making a new beat and then we do something on that. But yeah, so I'm kind of always writing, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
And with it as well, obviously your songs have a hell of a lot of lyrics in it compared to other stuff. You know, you're telling a large story.
Yeah.
How important is it to constantly be, you know, improving your diction, the number of words that you know and use? Do you have to research new words all the time?
I kind of, what happens quite a lot for me is I'll hear something, and I can't really think of an example, but I'll hear something and then that word I might have heard in the, like I might have heard someone just say it in a sentence, and it'll stick in the back of my head, and then all of a sudden I'm writing a song, and then that word that I've heard in the past rhymes with whatever I'm rhyming with, and then what I just kind of go back and do is I just go and Google what that word meant, so I'm using it in the right context. So yeah, it's not that I'm purposely going out there and trying to expand my dictionary. It's just whatever people are saying. If they use a word I don't know, it kind of stores, and then when that word can rhyme with something, I'll just go and try and make it rhyme and see that I'm using the right words in the right context and make sure it makes sense.
So how long would it be from, you know, start to finish on average to finish a track?
Oh, that's almost impossible to answer. And do you mean like finished track from like creating the beat to having the mastered version of it? Yeah,
from the first hint to being finished and recorded.
So about 4 years ago, I started a song called Fooling, which is on the album. It's the second to last song, and that was started 4 years ago. I wrote my verse back then, and I recorded my verse originally back then, and I had a beat made for it from a label in America called Definitely Loud Entertainment, and I got an artist on there called Flawless. He's an underground artist with some crazy talent, so he's someone I'm actually a fan of, and it was cool to get him on the song. We still haven't finished that song. We started that 4 years ago, and it's on the album because, you know, I've kind of put it to the side for so long. We never had a finished product of that song 4 years ago, and now over the last year we've done about 3 new versions of it where I've changed my verse or we've recreated the whole beat, because we're not using that. I'm not using that label over there anymore. That Definitely Loud Entertainment. They were working with me for about a year, but they kind of split up. I think there was 2 guys running it, and they had a studio and stuff like that and doing podcasts weekly, but one of the guys moved away, so it kind of dissolved, and with that obviously my connections with them did as well. But so yeah, so when I started working with Shane, we went back to some of my older music that I hadn't finished and tried to recreate them, and yeah. And so yeah, so we're still finishing that song. It's still not finished and mastered. But then I went to Thailand. I got back 2 weeks ago. So we went to Thailand 4 weeks ago, and the night before I went to Thailand, we went in the studio. He put on a beat, or he created a beat in the studio that night. I wrote my verse and the chorus, and then the next morning before I flew out, I wrote the second verse, and then recorded that, and then after, you know, just in those 2 days we had a full beat. We had written all the lyrics, I had recorded everything, and then we, you know, pretty much mixed it. So there's 4 years on that other song on the album, and then there's 2 days on that song. So it's a pretty, it just depends how much time you got to put into it. It depends how right you did it in the first place, because what I've found quite often is we can go and do a song, but you come back to it a week later and you hear stuff that you want to change, and you didn't hear it with, you know, listening to it with a fresh ear, you can you got a different perspective on it. So yeah, like you can just hear, oh, this instrument needs to change, or you know, I need to rewrite this part of the verse because it doesn't fit, or I need to re-record this part because I can do it better. So we run into that quite a lot, because I'm quite a perfectionist, and I never used to be. It's just with this album I am. This album that I'm been working on, in the past with a mixtape and stuff like that, I'll just download a beat off YouTube, write to it and record it one take and say, oh yeah, I got I said what I needed to say on there, that's good enough, and uploaded it to YouTube type thing. But now I'm trying to do things a bit different.
So do you have many demos or things that you're working on that you've completely scrapped, or is everything a work in progress?
I'd never say completely scrapped. I mean, I had my laptop. My laptop crashed about 3 years ago, and probably 3 years ago, and with that, a lot of my old material, I lost it, but I salvaged as much as I could. My dad's a bit of a techno geek, so he did what he could and going into it and transferring it to a new laptop and stuff. But I'd never say I've scrapped anything, because I've never had the heart to go and, even like if I wrote my first song and it's just a lyric file on my computer, I wouldn't delete it, because I could always go back to it. I might have rhymed something in there that I haven't rhymed somewhere else, or so I would never say I've scrapped something, but I've got folders and folders of songs and lyrics, and I've got books of lyrics and stuff like that I haven't used and I probably never will use, and like these are over the years, so but I'd never say I've scrapped them, because I might go back to something. So yeah.
Fair enough. Did you need to pause? So you mentioned earlier about liking the underground artists because they can speak their mind, say what needs to be said. You've got a couple of songs that I was listening to yesterday, Heal the Wounds and the Ill Lies of Foxton, who talking about self-harm and domestic abuse. Are these particularly strong, emotions for you? Is there a reason why you pick these topics, or?
A big thing for Heal the Wounds, I just because I put that song out that was one of my first songs I ever made, and I think it's crazy because that song's gone big on YouTube. It's got 300 and something thousand views. It wasn't supposed to do that. I mean, that was one of my first songs, and I wasn't good, and so I'm really embarrassed. I'm really proud that that's actually gotten to where it's gotten to. And I mean, there's so many people that say, oh, this has helped me, and people have reached out to me, and I even had this one situation. I think it was 2014. I made a song about it, but once again with that song I still haven't put that out. But I called it Scars Remain. It was like a carry on from Heal the Wounds, but that was actually about a true story, because I don't know how true it was, but this person contacted me on my fan page and said that their friend had committed suicide and that my lyrics were in their suicide note. And so that's a big deal just for a human being like me. I never met them, don't know them. So if that was a true story, that's some crazy stuff. So I mean, it's reached people. People have said it's helped them, and it's funny because yesterday I just decided I think it's probably the first time I've ever done it. I just searched on Dilz Heal the Wounds on Facebook, and then I went into because you can search friends posts and stuff like that. I went to search everyone, and I was finding so many people, even this year, last year, every year pretty much since I dropped it, posting the lyrics or saying it was their favourite song or recommending this person to listen to it because they're feeling down and all the rest of it. I actually reached out to a few of them that had posted it that weren't on private, and kind of just said, hey, thank you for sharing my song. So the reason why I did that song is because that Be Mike artist that I talked about earlier, he did a song called Baby Don't Cut, and I seen how much that was helping people. And I thought, well, I can probably help people too. I wasn't trying to copy him, but I just thought, I want to voice my opinion on I might have a different way of saying something to someone. And so I kind of went in and I thought, I can do this, and I want to try and help someone with the song. And I mean, my flow on it's horrible. It was the most budgetless recording equipment you could think of, and I didn't know how to deliver a song, but it made it big. So I guess that just proves it's not like all the gear you're using, it's not who you have behind you, it's not who's on the song, it's not anything about that. It's just a big part of the song is the message. And Ill Lies of Foxton, that's that was a bit of a personal song at the time. I was just going through some stuff, and there was some stuff happening that I wasn't too happy about, and yeah, so as an artist, I voiced my opinion. My girlfriend doesn't like that because, you know, sometimes our personal life gets dragged into my music, but you know, that's my life too, and I think she understands that in a way. Like on the album, I've got a song called Cocoon, and that's the most personal song I've ever written. Like, I think I've recorded that, and I can barely listen to it. So it's a really, really, really deep personal song, and that's me bringing her. So I got to be wary of that, and you know, so much I try my best to be like, I won't say that because, you know, that's her life too. But it just comes a point, or it just you know, it's hard to put that much of a boundary on things because it's my life, and that's what I talk about. I talk about my life, and that's not every song. I mean, Heal the Wounds, like I've never been a self-harm or anything like that. Yeah, so, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't about my life. Like I've known people that, you know, do that type of stuff and all the rest of it, and you know, me being who I am, I wanted to try and help in a way. But yeah, so my life is in my lyrics, and like I said, my girlfriend's not always happy about it, but I think she understands, and she knows, especially now, like now that things are getting a bit more serious, now that I'm not just downloading a beat at home in my hometown, just writing something on YouTube and put it up, and then people from school listen to it type thing. I think she knows it's a bit more serious than that. So, and I mean, I've been doing music from before we got together, so she knew it kind of came with me, you know, as part of the package. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about your other partner in crime here?
Yeah, so this is Shane. He goes by the producer name Suave. I met him on a security course. So I was in UCole in Palmerston North, 2015. He was one of my classmates, and then just one day,
You see me buying a mic.
Oh yeah, I'd seen him buying a mic.
Buying a microphone.
Yeah.
And we went like that, and he's like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, it's a microphone."
And I was kind of like, I rap, and he was like, "Oh, I make beats," and then it was, "Well, come over." Yeah, and then it was come over, and then so he used to live in Levin, and I lived in Foxton, so it was just a 15-minute drive, and I'll just drive to his house, and he was still like he's come so far, it's crazy, like, but just he's the first person I ever had that kind of chemistry with, like just the moment we sat down, he was making a beat and I was writing to it. We still have it. The first thing that we ever worked on, I think it was called, what did we call it? Household or something like that, eh? I can't remember. But yeah, so that was the first time we ever sat down and kind of, I seen what he had to offer and he seen what I had to offer, and then after that we just kept going, and then he ended up moving to Foxton, which made things a lot easier. So I'd drop my girlfriend off at work and then be at his house until she finished work type thing, just working on music. And back then we had plans, we're like working on this EP, or we're going to work on this album, we made these songs, and all of those still aren't out. I mean, we make a lot of music, and I think it's, even though it doesn't get released, it's still practice. Like even though no one else has heard it, we might have learnt something from that song that's going to go into the song that someone else is going to hear that's better than that first song anyway. So I mean, we are quite low key about what we do. We haven't shown what we've done as a collective. We haven't shown that to the world yet. But yeah, we got a good chemistry. It's really cool. And so I ended up moving up. When I was still in Foxton, we ended up, because we finished our security course 2015, and then 2016 we ended up going under the same security branch. So we were both doing bouncing at nightclubs in Palmerston North, and then he moved down to, where'd you go?
Went down south a little bit.
Yeah, well, Invercargill or something. Yeah, and then I moved up to Rotorua.
We were working with the internet stuff.
Yeah, so we're just sending each other stuff via Facebook or email and stuff like that, and just having phone conversations about stuff that we're working on.
And then the album.
So we started, because this album that I'm that this Metamorphosis has been on in the works for 4 years. So that Falling track that I originally was talking to you about, that was originally for this album, because I started the album 4 years ago with that label. And I kind of just, when stuff hit the fan with the label, I kind of moved away from it and just put everything we were working on on the side, and just carried on doing my little YouTube beats and stuff like that. And I'm glad that it happened like that, because I mean, what we have now is like, it is something. It can make it, like, it can. I think this album, like, I'm not trying to sound cocky or anything like that, but I think this album is, it is really, I think it's gonna make some type of it. I hope it does anyway. It's gonna make some type of an impact on New Zealand hip hop. Like, that's my goal. I want to put this out, and I don't mind if it's the New Zealand hip hop artists that listen to it, or other musical genres, or just the people in New Zealand. But that's where my main kind of, it's not that I just want to be stuck in New Zealand, but I never looked into New Zealand hip hop and stuff like that, and I was always working with American artists and putting my music out on American platforms. But with this album, I really did want to hit home, and so I'm working with a lot of New Zealand artists on it, and yeah, I think it, hopefully, as long as it gets heard, I think it's going to make a difference somehow. But yeah, so I moved up to Rotorua. He ended up moving back from Invercargill to Hamilton, and then from Hamilton he went to Hawke's Bay, and he was just kind of just floating around, and didn't have a job. And I'm the manager of a backpackers. I don't like calling it a backpackers, because it's not just dorm rooms and stuff like that. It's got some nice rooms, the chalet style accommodation, so they've got like the ensuite bathrooms and stuff like that. But then we've got 64 lodge rooms, which you know, dorm rooms and stuff like that, and then we've got campgrounds. So it's a really awesome complex. And so my partner and I manage that, and you know, I kind of hit him up with it for, you know, I said, do you want a job with us? We need a worker. We got some people leaving, and you know, if you want a job, we'll sort you out with them. And then so originally, so he grabbed the job. He came over. We did it all properly, interviewed him, and grabbed his CV and stuff like that. And then he came over, and the original plan was, because I got to live on site for a part of my job, because like all throughout the night, you know, if the guest has a problem or something. So a part of that is he had to he had 2 weeks. The boss lady, that's what I like to call her, on the Trine. So she kind of said about 2 weeks, and try and find a house and stuff like that, but we'll put you up for a little bit and get you started. And then obviously, because I just said we had a security background and stuff like that, we ended up doing a bit of a thing where we ditched the security team we were with, because there was not really any point outsourcing it, so they were coming and doing the alarms and all that. And so now he does the security, and that's how he lives with me now. So I mean, we live together.
Forgot about me.
So we live with him. I live with him, work with him, do music with him. He's never
a dull
away. Yeah.
So what's he like to work with?
Oh, he's alright, eh? Not too bad.
That's something.
He's alright. Not too bad.
Yeah.
That's all.
So for anyone in New Zealand that wants to work with me, I'm alright.
Nah, he's terrible.
Yeah.
He's terrible. Can't say some of the stuff he does, but
yeah, well, you know, we have some fun. Sometimes we make some pretty funny songs, but you know, we don't release them. So yeah, that's just us, you know, trying to use our energy and have some fun, or warm up or something like that. We might do some funny songs or some lyrics.
Most of the times when we do get into the studio, if like, I'm usually the not focused one, so when I get into the studio and we're supposed to be mixing or fixing up a song, I'm usually onto another beat.
Yeah.
And he's coming and he's like, what are we doing? I'm like, oh, sorry. Back to the project.
I think this album would have been put out probably half a year ago if he stayed focused.
Yeah.
But he just keeps making beats. But like I said, before we went to Thailand, he made that beat and I wrote to it, recorded it, and the next day finished it up. And that song's made the album. Like, that's I added it to the album. It's called Feels So Right. And so like that song, I think, adds its own element to the album that deserves to be there. and if he didn't, you know, get sidetracked, we wouldn't have that. So, I mean, it's awesome in a way. And I mean, he's gotten sidetracked so much that there's a bunch of beats there for me. Like as soon as this album's done, I'm jumping on them type thing. As soon as I got the spare time.
We've got heaps. I think we've got heaps of material.
Yeah.
You know, to keep.
And I mean, we're always working on music. If we're because we work together. If we're working together and we're in the gardens doing some gardening or something like that, doing the weeds or pulling down a fence or whatever we're doing, it's the whole time we're just talking about music, what the plan is, you know, future goals and all the rest of it. Yeah, we're just always, as soon as we finish work, most of the time it's me and him. We're just going into the studio, whatever spare time we get. My girlfriend gets a bit angry at both of us because she loves spending time with him type thing too, and because we're quite close. Obviously, he's been living with us for about a year, and when I'm spending every moment doing music and with him instead of her.
We don't talk about music.
Yeah,
yeah. Talk about music.
So she wants movie nights sometimes where we're all supposed to sit there, and sometimes I get sidetracked and I jump on, try and do some social media promotion, or I might quickly write some lyrics down or something. I get told off all the time. But now he's on the bandwagon. He gets told off now too. So there's two of us. She's telling off the both of us.
Yeah.
So tell us about this album then. It's coming out early next year?
Yeah, so some big news with the album is there's a label called Black Market Enterprise, an NZ hip-hop artist, Tom Francis. Have you heard of him? He's doing some massive stuff. He's the only New Zealand hip-hop artist I've seen doing what he's doing. So he's over there working with Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa. He's meeting up with Kendrick Lamar, and he's got songs with Royce the 5'9", who's like, Eminem's other half when it comes to some of Eminem's music. So he's doing some massive stuff, and his label has picked up my album for distribution, and so that they're promoting it and stuff like that. So it's a year deal. So that's the first time I've mentioned that. It's actually all just been in the works for the last 2 weeks, but we've kind of finalised it last week, and now we're trying to just get the album finished. So like we've been mixing and trying to just touch everything up as fast as we can, but because we've been putting it off for so long, like we keep just kind of what is it called? Dawdling, yeah. We keep dawdling about and not actually just finishing it. So we've got that to finish now because with the label we've set a release date, but it is quite far away still, even though the project's pretty much done, and I've been almost ready to drop it all year. So the release date we've set is March next year, and that is because we need that time to promote. And I mean, I haven't even dropped a song off it yet, so we've got the first single coming out January 7th, which is Wait On You, featuring j.williams and Ty, which are two crazy talented New Zealand artists, even though j.williams is over in Aussie now. But yeah, so we've got all that sorted out. The single's pretty much almost in their hands, because they're picking up the album. They're gonna try and get the quality up to scratch with some mastering and all the rest of it. Really cool guys too, like good contact and all that. They're really cool to talk to and be a part of. But yeah, so that's just a distribution deal of the album. I'm not a signed artist to the label, so that's just something I wanted to make sure that doesn't get confused. But yeah, so the first single's January, so that gives us because they need all the weeks to promote it, and we need the time to get it accepted from Spotify and iTunes and all of that, and then we're going to try and do a music video for that, which we'll release probably a few weeks after the track, I'm not sure. But so at the moment it's Wait On You. The first single was the start of January, and the album the start of March.
So where did Metamorphosis come from, the name?
Metamorphosis, for me, it's just symbolised growth. When a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, that's evolving, that's going from something, that's when you think about, you know, the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, it's some crazy thing. You know, you don't see ants turning into bloody dragonflies and stuff. So, you know, it is crazy. Caterpillar turning into a butterfly. That's like growth to its fullest extent, and that's what I wanted to symbolise. I wanted it to be about my growth. I wanted people to see where I'm at now compared to where I used to be if they listen to old work type thing. So this album is just, you know, setting a standard type thing. It's about growth. It's about change. It's about you know, like maybe like leaving the way I did things or who I was behind, and I'm coming fresh with this. This is, you know, this is what I've always wanted to evolve into. You know, so it's the biggest thing about it's just growth. That's the biggest thing I can stress about why I've gone with that direction. And yeah, so with the album, I've got the track titles, and so it starts with Caterpillar is the intro song, and then we've got Chrysalis on the album, and so everything might not be in, like, it's not that it goes this, but in that track list, it goes from this one, and then the last song's this one, and in between there's some other songs. So it goes Caterpillar, Chrysalis, Caterpillar, Cocoon, Chrysalis, Metamorphosis, Butterflies, Falling, and Fly Away. And so that's kind of all telling a story in itself as well. Just the titles of the tracks and the story within them, and yeah.
So you said Fallen was one of your most emotional songs.
Cocoon.
Cocoon was Cocoon?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Cocoon is your most emotional song.
Yeah.
What would be your favourite song from the album?
Oh, that's a hard one. A big thing about the album is I've almost tried to tackle every aspect of what I think's important in hip hop in all the different songs. So, you know, I've got the show off songs where I'm doing lyrical, spiritual, you know, like trying to show how well my wordplay is, and then I've got the deep songs that you know, it's like Cocoon, and then I've got the radio sounding songs like Wait on You, that sounds like a radio track, something that people can sing along to and get stuck in their head. And then we've got the catchy beats. We've got some old school sounds. We've got some new school sounds. We've got the West Coast feel in there. It's just we've got a whole bunch of stuff. You've got me trying to sing a little bit, which, you know, I shouldn't really do, but I'm trying to be I'm trying to be as diverse as I can and show that I can you know, I can dwell into as many areas of hip hop as I can, you know, as I want to.
No reggae thrown in there?
And so there is no reggae in there.
It's funny you say that. I made a jingle the other day and it was a reggae one.
Yeah. And I think for a little bit Butterflies might have been a reggae track.
Yeah, I think it started off as a
and then
reggae
he changed the beat.
Maybe
So,
album number 2.
Yeah, maybe a reggae album one day. Go Snoop Lion on it.
track.
But yeah, so a personal favourite is really hard. Wait on You for me, I think that one's really, like, I've from the moment I heard j.williams chorus that he sent me back for that, I was like, oh, like this song has potential. That was the first instance I really realised that what I'm making could have potential, I think. So that one's big, and it's a you know, Scribe was originally supposed to be on that, but he's ended up jumping on another song, and Taupiri from Smash Proof, he's on that now. So yeah, it's a cool song. It's got some crazy talent on there, and I'm hoping that, you know, me being amongst those two guys, I kind of fit in. You know what I mean? I don't want them to chuck that on and hear him, and then they hear me and they're like, oh, well, you shouldn't be on there, because it's my song. So, you know, the biggest thing for me is I'm trying to make sure that, you know, I did my thing on it, and people will go back to it to listen to me as well. And yeah, so I think Wait on You would probably would be my favourite song on the album, but then there's just, it kind of depends on what mood you're in too, because there's so many different moods on the album. Yeah, but I'm just trying to be diverse on it. So I've made songs that I don't usually try to make, and it's almost like no one song sounds the same. So if you go from the first song to the last song, you know, the flows are different, the way I'm rhyming is a bit different, the feel of the beats are, you know, they've all kind of got a connection where like we've kind of tried to make it feel like so that it doesn't just sound like completely random tracks put together. So there's connections in the beats and stuff like that that kind of link everything together, but at the same time everything's a different vibe and different feel. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got about, what was it, about 10 or so featured artists on the album?
I'm not too sure. I haven't counted.
I think I had a quick look through. It was around 10.
Yeah.
How easy is it collaborating with other artists? Is there a lot of support in the industry?
It depends. It depends who it is. And I mean, I've talked to a lot of other artists and reached out to a lot of artists and sent other artists the songs, and I've had people come back and say they would want to and all the rest of it. But it kind of comes down to, you've got to make the right decision for the song. I mean, you know, if I had the chance to get the lead singer of Metallica on, or the lead singer of Slipknot on the song Cocoon, it just wouldn't make sense. You know what I mean? So it's got to make sense about who it is that's on the song. They got to fit the song, they got to relate to the song, they got to know the song, they got to feel the song, and that's quite a hard one to do. Like hard decision to make, like who, because a big thing is like sometimes when you're making a song, you know if that's gonna, I don't know if it's just me, but I get a feeling it's like this song is just me. You know, the song needs to be just me because it's my story, or maybe because, you know, I don't know, I just get this feeling whether it's a me song or if there's someone I should be reaching out to for it. And when you're reaching out to that someone, you just got to make sure it's the right someone. And the biggest thing with me is I don't want to work with artists who just want a paycheck. So like quite a lot of the artists on the album, they actually did it, you know, out of love type thing. So I've sent it to them, they've sent it back, and that's crazy. That's really cool. And you know, some of them were paid, but when it comes down to like, here, I'll send you this song, they're like, oh, I want this much money. If I'm doing that, I don't mind, or you know, but if they don't like the song and they're doing it just because they're getting paid for it, I don't want to work with people like that. And you know, you do come across that type of thing. So I think a big thing for me is I just want my music to be felt, and whoever's on it, they got to be a part of that. So.
So have you had any issues with recording, like any problems, any weird stories that have come up in the years? I seem to remember reading somewhere that you ended up with hiccups one time and that caused you some issues.
Yeah. Because we work like full on. Like sometimes we're doing 70-hour weeks where we work. It's crazy because we got so much happening. We've got a bar, and so I'm the bar manager there. So I've got to be on site if someone's serving, and then we've got a cafe, and we dwell into all the areas. We don't just do this. We clean. We book people in at the reception. We cook in the cafe. We serve at the bar. We do all the, Shane and I do the maintenance. We feed groups. So we get like sports teams and school camps and all that. We cater for them, pack lunches and all the rest of it. So we're working around the clock, and so any spare moment we get is valuable. And because I mean, you're either working or you're tired, or you got a grumpy girlfriend because you're doing everything else. But so with that, I had a spare moment, like I think it was like 2 hours in the afternoon, where it was like I finished at 3, because you know, I've been a bit slack since I went to Thailand, but we were gymming every single day at like 3:30, making sure that we got that little bit of a break. So we were going to the gym at 3:30 every day for about an hour or two, and then one of these days I just decided I'm not going to go to the gym. I've got to lay these vocals down. I'm in the mood. Because we live on site at a backpackers. I mean, noise is a problem. You can't record too late at night because you know people are trying to sleep. You can't record when there's big school groups outside playing with the ball. You know what I mean? So with it being so noisy, it's really selective about when we can actually do certain things. So it's like sometimes we can still go and put headphones on and mix or something like that, but you can't record. You can't put the beat on, and the bass is kicking in heavy when there's people trying to sleep and stuff like that. So it's quite hard. But so I had a perfect gap. I didn't go to the gym. I went in the studio. I was going to record, and I just had the hiccups. And it ruined it because I had that little gap. I was in the mood. I knew what I was doing. I had them at the time. My girlfriend wasn't angry. I think he I don't know if he was there. He might have been. I don't know. He might have still been working. I don't remember. But I couldn't record because the hiccups just went for like half an hour or something like that. And by the time that had happened, I was out of the zone. I wasn't ready to do it anymore. So, that is a, I guess that's a recording story. But I wouldn't have remembered that if you didn't bring it up. So yeah, I can't really think of anything else. One funny thing is quite often I record in my undies. That's because it's hot. When you're at you got to close off the room. You can't have the windows open because one, they're going to hear you and wonder what the hell's he swearing for.
What's this crazy guy doing?
what's he doing?
Who's he yelling at?
Yeah, so we got to close the windows, and that's so that we don't hear them and the mic and stuff like that too. And then most of the time we got like my partner might be in the bedroom or in the TV watching Xbox, playing Xbox or watching Netflix or whatever. And quite often we got people over, and like my cousin's been staying with us throughout the last month, so need to shut the studio room door too, otherwise noise from what's happening over there is going to get in. And then when you're in a little room that's like quarter of the size of this and you're recording and you're actually being, it's quite physical. You're in there and you're going hard. If it's a hype up song, you got to be hyped when you're doing it. And you might, like, sometimes I record for 3 hours just trying to get one verse right. And then by the time you're doing that, you're sweating and it's hot and you're in your undies. So yeah. I try not to do it when he's in there though. So it's usually just I'm in my undies if it's by myself or.
It's only a small room, eh?
Yeah.
But that's the same with me. Like I can't make a beat or play with beats quietly.
Yeah, you got to have it loud to hear what's happening. Loud. Do you have any funny stories?
I got banned from the studio.
So he got banned from being in the studio. Do you want to tell him?
Yeah, well, I got banned from the studio for a couple of days because I thought I would have a few drinks and sit down and have a jam. And then for some reason the microphone came off the wall and that was it.
No.
The keyboard was a bit sticky.
So my keyboard for the beats had alcohol spilt on it. This $300 seat that I'm really proud of I just bought it too, and he had spilt stuff on it. Because we've got the microphone kind of screwed up to the wall. That's why. So because it's such a small room, you don't have a mic stand taking up the room, and he'd ripped that off the wall. What else was there? I can't remember. I think he might have knocked my guitar over. Yeah, I wasn't happy. So he was banned.
I fell asleep.
Then he fell asleep
in the lounge.
He fell asleep in the lounge. We woke up and he was. The seat was falling over and he was sitting on the floor asleep. So I think he went a bit on over the top with that one. Yeah, but obviously he's not banned anymore. It took a bit of strength and courage to unban him.
Yeah.
Now the cat's banned because he comes in, he tries eating the mic cords and tries eating the headphones.
Rips birds up.
Yeah.
I can't even.
Like this week, was it this week?
I went in there to go do something. I walked in there, looked at everything, walked straight back up.
Yeah, was that this week?
Yeah.
What's today? Saturday. Yeah, he's brought 2 birds into the studio, just feathers and everywhere, dead bird on the floor. I think it's because he knows he's not supposed to be in there. He just brings them in. Oh, and he poos in there too. Yeah. Behind the printer. Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty. That's all the questions I've got. You guys are going to do a performance for us today, are we?
Yeah, hopefully. So last night we ended up going to Lava Bar in Rotorua. Taupiri from Smash Proof, he was performing there. It was a good night, but I got a bit too drunk. The drive over here was horrible.
We had to stop a few times so you could jump out and try and spew.
I was trying to spew because I was thinking, I want to feel as good as I can when I get here. So if I spew, I'm going to feel better. But I just couldn't spew. I guess I did it all last night. But yeah, so yeah. Hopefully it goes good. Yeah.
What song are we going to go for? Any stories behind it?
The song's called Fly Away. Story behind it's a bit of a deeper song, kind of. It's a little bit dwells into my personal life and how I was feeling at the time. I think I wrote it at the end of last year, and so we moved up to Rotorua for this job, my partner and I, November last year, and obviously that's a big move, moving away from my hometown, moving into a city that I didn't know anyone and all that type of stuff. I mean, it has to happen. You can't just be stuck in your hometown and stuff. But it was a bit of a big move, and it was kind of just what I was feeling at the time. Because you know, if things aren't going right with your girlfriend and you're in the city by yourself, pretty much, you might feel lonely. And so you know, especially when like I grew up in Foxton, so I spent my whole 20 years before I moved here. So I've been here for a year. With the same crowd, the same mates, the same, you know, the same hobbies, the same go-to places, the same chill-out places. Because quite often I'd go to the river and I'd write lyrics when I was, you know, not feeling that great and all the rest of it. So that was it changed. So I didn't have those mates or the river and all that type of stuff. So with this song, I think it might have been just, you know, wasn't feeling that great. Wrote a song, and when we first moved here. So yeah, it is the last song on the album. And I mean, some people might think, well, he's leaving the album on a sour note, because it isn't the most inspirational song, and it's the last song on the album. But you know, life isn't perfect, so my album's not perfect either. You know what I mean? The stories in it and the way that it's structured, it's just a reflection of my life. So. Yeah.
It's real crazy too, like with an album and you want the best, you know, we're finding that like we have to go back and like redo things, you know. So for this deal thing, or this distribution thing, we don't want to really mix and try and master it all ourselves. We just want to get the mix happening to how we want it, because you know it's a sound that, you know, like we just want a different sound, I think, for this.
Yeah, we've kind of like,
I don't want it to sound like every other hip hop or whatever that's coming out of New Zealand, especially.
Yeah, we've kind of touched into what's happening, but with our own take on it. Like, we're not just trying to be mainstream and just go with everyone else. We put our own twist on everything. And like major influences for this album, like what I was listening to a lot of was Yellow Wolf. So I was listening to a lot of Yellow Wolf. When I was studying him, I was learning things from him, and then I used those in this album, type like what I was learning in this album. And I hadn't, like, so you know, you might hear that part, and I've never done that before. I've never released a song where I've made something sound like that before, but I've learned that because I was listening to Yellow Wolf so heavily. And it's not that I'm stealing what he's doing or copying him or anything like that. I always do things my own way, but I'm just seeing what they're doing and seeing what I can do with that and stuff. Hobson, he dropped an album last night. Me, Shane, and my partner, we just sat in the lounge. We turned the lights off. We bought a box, bought some McDonald's, and put the UE boom in the middle of the room and just played the album. And that was it. Because for me, that's a big deal. That's a whole new bunch of inspiration. And yeah, so that was cool. He's heavily influenced my sound on this album. Eminem, obviously. I actually listened to a lot of D12 in the beginning of the album, and so, you know, there are some songs that we aren't using that we're going in a bit of a D12 direction with what I was saying. But yeah, 360. He's an Australian rapper. He's played a big part in the album. Like, listening to him and what he's doing, and taking things from that. So yeah, I think the album is just going to be a big mix of, you know, you might hear influences who I got this from, or who he might have heard something beat wise. You know, he's got, like, who influenced you for the beats, do you reckon?
Pretty much, I don't know, whatever I hear, and I think it's, but the West Coast is pretty much the sound you'll mainly hear in there.
Yeah, there's a song on there called Back At It, and I wanted to perform that one, but like, because we were going to do the acoustic performance, but we've just been so flat out this week, we haven't had the chance to transition what we've done beat wise onto a guitar. But we want to do that, and we were thinking even doing a track like that and putting it just as an extra on the album type thing, and Fly Away would have been the song we did it with. So that's why we're kind of going with Fly Away, because I was practicing that while he was practicing the guitar, and so we kind of just stuck with it. But I really wanted to do Back at It because that's such a fun song, but doing it solo, I think you need a stage and a crowd and stuff like that to do it. But yeah, that's West Coasty. There's just some cool feels on this album. It's really, I'm looking forward to everyone hearing it. Like.
Sick of these tricks in my brain plays. Wake up in the morning with the same pain. Then on through the day, the pain stays. No sun, only rain days. I'm lonely, I crave mates. It doesn't take long till I vacate. My girl gets mad, breaks plates. My head is left spinning like a Beyblade. I try to keep a straight face, but my face aches. I can't keep it up. They say that love is blind, but my heart's seen enough. I try to talk it out, but she can't see the fuss. Put a beat on, drift away. Same shit, different day. Sit back, let it play, then start running shit that I'd never say. So sick of the night tears, trapped in a nightmare I can't escape. I try to wake up, I try to break free. Do I just quit, succumb to fate? Stuck in the sand with the incoming tide. Nowhere to go, I can't run and hide. It's time to put my wings into action and fly, reaching for the sky on a natural high. Dream or a nightmare? That is the question. Do I go to sleep, do I keep trying to reach, or take it as a lesson? Every night I lay in bed, wide awake, thinking about the day that burst emotion with the words are spoken. Behind the scenes before the curtains open, trying to move earth and ocean, bring it all to life, then a burst of motion. These verses won't fit, I curse like oh shit. I can't seem to get it all to work out. Wonder what I'm worth, I'm hopeless. What's worse, I'm homesick, locked at the house, so I'm living like I'm homeless. I've been misled, and I've never dodged a bullet, so I guess you could say that I can't seem to mislead. Even though at times I feel I'm being misused. Whenever you leave, I can't help but miss you. My whole life seems like I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Off with the fairies, those who are near me know that I often will stargaze, stuck in the sand with the incoming tide. Nowhere to go, can't run and hide. It's time to put my wings into action and fly, reaching for the sky on a natural high. Dream or a nightmare? That is the question. Do I go to sleep, do I keep trying to reach, or take it as a lesson? Every night I lay in bed, wide awake, thinking about the day that I fly away. Dream or a nightmare? That is the question. Do I go to sleep, do I keep trying to reach, or take it as a lesson? Every night I lay in bed, wide awake, thinking about the day that I fly away.